So today I'm going to talk a little bit about transits and progressions and the differences and similarities between them and sort of how they're used in astrology. So there is a common notion in predictive astrology that, we have the natal chart, but of course, when we go into the realm of timing techniques and understanding how the chart unfolds over time, we have a lot of different tools to use in terms of analyzing how and when and under what conditions certain events that are promised in the natal chart will manifest in someone's life. And two of the most significant areas of predictive techniques are, of course, transits, which you've maybe heard of, and also progressions. Now, there's a lot to say about these things and how they work together, but I want to just give a brief explanation for people who are new to these ideas of what they are and how to use them and how they're different. So basically, transits are just the everyday continuing motions of the celestial bodies. So the ambient sky, is always showing us where the planets are right now because they're always moving. And so the transits are literally just tracking the continual real-time motions of the planets in the sky. Now, this is like the most fundamental and baseline analysis of predictive astrology, because if we have to know where the planets are to calculate a chart, for someone's birth or for the beginning of a country or a business or something, then that is relying on the transits of where the planets are at any moment, right? So transits are just the fundamental layer to our entire reality. So the continual changing of the motions of the planets, going from direct and retrograde to, ingressing from one sign into another sign or conjoining with a certain bright fixed star. These transiting motions, also their heliacal appearances and disappearances, of course, these actually reveal to us everything that's going on in the cosmos in terms of what's happening and what are people talking about, what are the events that are occurring. Because it's obviously very physical, it's observational. You can go outside and see it. So when we're talking about what transits reveal to us through astrology is literally the ongoing real-time conditions of life. And progressions, on the other hand, while they are technically still transits, they are not real-time transits, they are symbolic transits. And so a progression essentially equates a certain period of time of the real transiting motions of the planets to a smaller or larger scale of time. So it's like, imagine an accordion file, right? Like you can take, a massive long piece of paper and fold it up just right so that you condense a lot of information into a little bit of time. So what we do is we collapse someone's whole lifetime of 90 years and we put it into the first 90 days after someone's born. And that's how we define a secondary progression, where we say, okay, you're going to live 1 year and we're going to look into the ephemeris, which is the book that has the positions of the transiting planets. And for every year you live, we go 1 day down. So we equate 1 year with 1 day. That's the secondary progression. Now, there's also the tertiary and the quaternary progression, and even other progressions. But the main big three are secondary, tertiary, and quaternary. And so these three major time scales progress and condense times in different scales, basically. So we have a symbolic, like, scaling of time with progressions, and then we have the real-time transits. So the difference is, like, we're always looking at those against the radix or the root chart, whether it's a birth chart or a country chart or something, right? We have to observe. We can just delineate, a transit in the sky, but you need to root it to the root chart. It needs to go on to something, right? Saturn just squaring, the sun, which will happen twice a year, that could be like totally significant for someone if it's exactly also hitting degrees that are pertinent and powerful in someone's chart, or it could not even hit anything, and then it's not really relevant. So we have to root transits to the natal chart. And then, of course, progressions are just extensions of the natal chart. So we have to progress. Like, you can't just pull up a progression with no root chart. Like, a progression is rooted from an initial chart. So you can't not look at the progression with the natal chart. Okay, so we have to look at the progressions and the transits against the natal chart. Now, People delineate transits on their own to apply to lots of people, right? Like a full moon, right? We're all feeling that energy of the transiting sky. But the progressed chart is rooted to a natal chart. So it's having implications only for a specific moment or a specific individual. Now, what's really interesting is that you can read a progressed chart on its own and just kind of pull things out of it. Like when you have a full moon, right? Like that's going to mean something on its own, but you're not going to get the full picture, right? Unless it's obviously rooted to that person's chart. So we've established a few things. There's transits and the progressions. They work together. Progressions are technically scaled transits. We have to analyze them both to the condition of the natal chart. And one more piece I want to identify that's really important is understanding that progressions emphasize while transits trigger. So because progressions are working with scaled time, you can get like exact events, like, and you still see that often. If you're working with the precise settings for your progressions, you can get very close hits for events. But with progressions, what you're actually looking for is a more symbolic view of different chunks of time. Like when by progression, a planet goes retrograde, it defines a period where there's a certain activity pausing or being reviewed in a certain house. And of course, that happens by transit too, but the way progressions give us such a valuable insight is because of the triple nature of the three major progressions: secondary, tertiary, and quaternary, which I'm going to talk about in the next video. But the main idea here is that the progressions are giving this like potential waveform and the transits like collapse it. So for something to really manifest off of a progressed chart, if you have the natal chart, then a progression, and then the transit, and all three line up, that's when you know something you can predict with confidence. So you have to sort of be able to start layering both a transit and a progression. So after this video, I'm going to explain what the three different kinds of progressions are and how they work together. And then I'll do videos for each one. And then we'll sort of start talking about like the larger scope of how progressions and transits fit into other things related to natal astrology. So I hope this was helpful. And yeah, we're going to just keep rolling. So I'll see you in the next video. Ciao.